We had a good start. Hibs kind of tweaked their shape slightly. We gave away we scored a very, very good goal ourselves in terms of partner play, how we move the ball into the final third and the execution for Big Joe. So we scored a very good goal ourselves. It's quite an open game at that point. Wee bit like basketball, we've never had as much control in the game as we hoped, but neither did Hibs. So we get that goal, and then Hibs kind of get Hibs then push on to try and get the equaliser. We get a really, really poor goal away from our point of view, one that I wasn't happy with. And we give a really sloppy second goal away, but the game's very open at that point. And I know when I get the boys in at half time that we can tweak certain bits of information, change it slightly, get a wee bit more detail into the players. And I think the game's there to be won. The game's definitely not lost at that point. It's a fairly even game at that point. And then Jack gets sent off 8 minutes into the second half, 7 minutes into the second half, and the game plan goes out the window then. Fair play to the players because they're still trying to push on and get that equaliser. We probably give away, and again it's a sloppy goal from our point of view. Lee will be happy with how that transpired for Hibs, but it's a sloppy goal. We're chasing the game with 10 men and we give from a counter-attack situation, we give a goal away. We make 3 substitutions also to get in the game, and Big Ayo then has to come off the park with a contact injury through a tackle, but it was never a tackle, no, it was a contact injury. So that kind of throws us a little bit, and it kind of kills me with the attacking substitution that I was planning making on my last sub with my 5 changes. So we're kind of, the shape can't really change at that point because I need to bring another centre half on for Ayo. Big Curtis has to remain on the bench because my plan at that point was to try and go a 3-4-2 to try and get something from the game. And then wee Steph goes down with another contact injury on 80 minutes and we play the game with 9 men. And I think there's 8 minutes extra time in the second half, so theoretically we've played 45 minutes with 10 men and we've played close to 20 minutes with 9 men. So it's a disappointing result from our point of view, but I think I've got to be pragmatic and strip the game back and look at it in more detail. Sometimes you can look at the emotion of it and it leads to volatile decisions, but I left the game with anger and frustration. I just feel that there's times in the game as well, Big Joe's got 3-4 men following him constantly throughout the game and he doesn't seem to get any protection from the referees, and I think he needs more protection from referees, so that's adding to my frustration. Every tackle we seem to make now is leading to a yellow card or a double yellow or a red card, and Fitzy's was a red card. I'm not debating the decision at all, but I just feel every tackle it's a yellow card for a Livingston player, but when it's happening against us, it's not falling in our favour, and Joel's actually got to have the legs taken away from him before anybody gives him a foul. So there's probably a wee bit of frustration in terms of how the game went, our game management, decisions that went against us, and I'm not saying the decisions are wrong because I think Fitzy's is correct. I'm not saying Ayo's contact injury was the wrong decision either, or be Steph, but it just seems to be a lot of decisions are going against us now, and it probably leads a wee bit to my frustration, which then will help you ask me your next question. I take full responsibility for it. There's a wee bit immature in me, but I was having a wee bit of banter with David Marshall. But I've got to recognise at times, I think I got caught up in the game, but I've got to recognise at times that people are looking at me as a leader. And I probably shouldn't, I shouldn't have done it. David shouted over, and I'm standing with the fourth official, the linesman, how long's left? And you've seen the gesture obviously, and I was referring to, I shouted over 1 minute. He laughed, I laughed, and that was genuine. And then I asked the liner, goes, how long is left? 2 minutes, and I shouted over to him 2 minutes. So we were both having a wee bit of a laugh about it. And then it all kind of died down because that was just after Hibs' 4th goal, which again I thought was potentially a foul on Shamal. But anyway, we're down to 9 men at that point. But the game took a long stop for that goal to get allowed. Shamal was shouting over at the bench, his thumb was broken. At that point, he thought his thumb was broke from the challenge. It's staved, but he thought his thumb was broke. So there was a lot going on during that wee time, and David shouted over how long's left. And then obviously I've made that gesture, which was wrong. It was irresponsible, and I understand that. And I let myself down. I let the staff, the players and the club down, but
it was coming.
I expect to get banned, Brian. At the time, I went in and spoke to the referee and the official after the game. I said, now, when you make a gesture, it's probably got to be in line with the context it's using that gesture. Now, you can articulate that gesture with certain terminology that I feels negative in the terms of the context that I was using it. It was in a jokingly manner. With David, he was laughing, I was laughing, and David grabbed me after the game and he said, look, if you need me to say anything, I can back. I wasn't doing that offensively to him, albeit being taken offensively. I went in and spoke to the linesman. I think the linesman's one of the better linesmen in the league, but at that point I'm frustrated. I never really took his point of view at the time, if I'm honest. I think I get what you're saying, but I said you've got to take it in context with the language used within the gesture. He said, but it's a gesture alone, and I never took that at the time, if I'm honest with you, but I had a debate with him. We had an honest conversation, we left, no animosity. It wasn't probably a wee bit later on, I was sitting in the house and I went, do you know what, I actually take it from his point of view, I understand where he's coming from, and I was in the wrong. Plain and simple, I was in the wrong, I shouldn't have done it, jokingly or not. I thought they were unfortunate. But again, see when you're down the bottom end of the table, I've been there myself, I'm going through a wee bit of a blip ourselves, you know, everything seems to go against you. You control large moments in the game. Even Aberdeen up there was nothing in the game between the two teams. They have a moment in the game and they score from it. We have a moment in the game and it gets cleared off the line. So really that's the big decisions sometimes when you've got momentum and a wee bit of luck on your side. These game-changing decisions go your way, but that's football. I genuinely believe, even when Foxy was there, I don't think it was horrendous. I don't think the league position, well, it probably is because it's points you're picking up, but I think when you're down the bottom of the league, it's quite easy for things to go against you. You feel as if the world's against you. And Jim, they had a wee lift for Jim going in. Jim's a very good manager, very, very capable. The players have got, so I'm not really going into this game thinking about Dundee United's league position, if I'm honest. I'll take this game in isolation as I do every other game, because Dundee United will win a game of football. At what point they'll win that. So the stats, I don't really look too much into the stats, but
they've lost 7 in a row.
I know, but it might go 8, it might go 9, it might stop at 7. So by saying that, the only thing I would say when the stats are getting a wee bit higher in terms of the games you've lost, the one thing for sure that's going to happen is that's going to change. It's going to change at some point. So as long as it's no as long as it's no 7 in a row that stops, and hopefully it's 8 in a row, and obviously that's my job. So team wise, I think Isles is a bad one. I think he's going to go for an MRI. We're going to wait till the swelling's down, but touch wood, when I say a bad one, I think he's going to miss the season, but potentially that could eat into a bit of pre-season next year. So hopefully not. It was a contact injury, it wasn't a bad I thought at the time I was a bit frustrated by the tackle, if I'm honest, because I thought it was a wee bit of a lunge, but and I watched it back, fair play, it was just a good honest tackle, and Isles went in with his side foot and it's opened up his medial ligament potentially. So that's not a great one. Steph had to come off injured. His looked a lot worse than what it was. Steph's going to probably be available for the game. I'm trying to think elsewhere, Brian. Shamal, so Shamal, again, I've had a Steph from myself. You'd actually rather Shamal wouldn't, but if you've ever felt the pain in a Steph finger, it's probably better if it's broken. It's a lot less pain, so I think the pain he felt, so he'll be okay. We'll put a wee bit of strapping into that, get painkillers into him at a time, but I think he staved it and it was a lot sorer. He was shouting over at the time that, listen, I think I broke my thumb, but I can relate to that because I've had that pain in my fingers before, and being stave's probably a lot more painful than being broke. Morgan's came in and made it difficult for Ayo to get his position back, and basically what happened is I had a wee change. Morgan came in and done really well, then Morgan fell with illness, and Ayo came in and done really well, then Ayo got an illness. So the two of them kind of have been in good form but been out of the teams for different reasons. The same reasons, it wasn't through form. Morgan came out of the team there through being ill, and Morgan got his opportunity through Ayo being ill. Big Luigi comes in, it's why we've got a strong squad. I've spoke about it previously. I've also got Sean Kelly who can play there, so it's no the end of the world, so to speak. Big Luigi's now been in with me since early December, so there's enough adaptation period in there, and I thought he went on and he done fairly well in the game. So I'm looking forward to see what he can get. His chances probably came a little bit earlier than I expected, but that's not due to Luigi's form, that's probably due to the boys in front of him's form in terms of Jack Fitzwater, Oberley and Morgan Boys. He now finds himself with an opportunity to go and start a game for Livingston, and I'm more than happy with putting him in the starting 11 because I think he'll do okay. I've seen him against some top opposition in Fortuna Sittard, La Paglia, QPR. He went out on Saturday and he done fairly well, so I'm more than comfortable with Big Luigi coming in at right centre back. Joel's old school, right, and I'm not saying boys go out and cheat, I don't, right, but there's a lot of players and I think it's game management. I don't see it as cheating, I generally don't. I think I can tell you now, Marvin's the manager of Queen of the South, but Marvin was the most foul player we've had at Livingston. I think at one point Marvin was the most foul player in the Premier League, but Marvin was very clever at using his body, and that comes down to game management and experience. So if you use that kind of mindset in a forward area, the modern day player are very good at using their body, getting their body in, getting fouls, getting their team up the park. You can get the team up the park via link up and laying the ball off to your opponent, or retaining possession through getting your team a free kick higher up the park. I think Joel, and there's a few players we picks is very, very similar. Nicky's a wee bit like that as well, that they're honest to a fault and they're getting fouled, but they're still trying to maintain their own balance, and then that leads to a pass, but the execution's not quite there. That may lead to a counter-attack where I think the referees could help these players, especially Joel Newbley in the forward there. Sometimes Joel's got 3 or 4 players hanging off him, pulling at him, hanging on his back, pulling his shirt. And because he's 6'3", it kind of goes a wee bit unnoticed, it's allowed, whereas if you'd done that to Bruce Anderson, Bruce is getting a foul. So I think I would like to see a wee bit more protection for Joe. I don't think we should be asking players to go down when there's a foul. I think it's testament to Joel's character that he tries to stay up, he still tries to keep the ball in play and keep the game going, when really there was an incident. You were at a game, Brian, remember the one that Hearts scored from? Hearts scored last kick of the ball, Josh Ginnelly. Joel takes the ball 40 yards up the park, last couple of minutes of a game, he's been fouled 2 or 3 times. I think it's a penalty kick, but he doesn't go down, but he's been fouled before that approach. And then he tries to play a ball, he's kind of off balance, he's been stumbling for the last 10-15 yards trying to stay on his feet, plays that ball, the execution's quite not there because he's off balance, and then Hearts got up the park and score. In terms of that, there's phases like that within games, so we've got a choice. I've got a choice. Do I tell Joel to start going down, at every contact go down? I don't really want to do that to Joel. I don't think Joel wants to do that. I don't want to bring that into the game. I don't encourage my players to do that. I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way, because there's different ways to get your team up the park. I just think he needs a wee bit more protection at times, in terms of there is fouls, they're holding them, they're pulling them. There's a couple of incidents, they're up in his shoulders with 2 hands and one the header. But he's 6'3", so it's okay to do that. So I would like to see a wee bit more protection. And you look at other players, the smaller strikers in the league, maybe Kyogo, Bruce Anderson, when there's any types of contact, the referee tends to give them that foul. I would like to see a wee bit more protection for Joel within the game. It's probably came a wee bit earlier than we all thought, but when Jim lost his job at Aberdeen, I was one of Jim's biggest advocates. I was delighted that Aberdeen chose to cherry pick somebody from Scottish football. I think that's a progression that all managers are looking at in terms of in Scotland. It's nice to see clubs do it. I like seeing players moving from lower level to bigger clubs in Scotland. I like seeing managers, coaching staff moving on, so I was delighted that Jim got the job. Sad that he'd lost his job in the circumstances he lost his job, but you know what, I'm delighted that Jim's back in the door, and he's took a huge leap of faith, and I think Jim's put his own name in the line here, because it would have been easy for Jim to sit tight and wait till the summer, restock, look at what's available. But do you know what, he's backed himself, and fair play to him, and that's Jim Goodwin for me. Jim Goodwin, he's courageous, he kind of manages how he played. He was very courageous on the park, he's full of confidence and he believes in his own ability, so fair play to Jim. I've got a good relationship with Jim, and I'm delighted that actually again Dundee United went and gave someone, and if you look at Dundee United, they've had a wee bit of stick off late. They gave Tam a shot. They gave Tam a shot for Scottish football. They gave Liam Fox a shot at Scottish football, and then went and rehired for someone within Scottish football. And I'm very biased in that respect, but that's how I would like to see clubs do it. And I'm not saying that's how it should be done, because obviously it's got to be the best candidate, but it's nice to see clubs that are actually looking at Scottish talent in terms of bringing them in. Fair play to Dundee United for giving Jim that opportunity, and Jim for taking that challenge.
They took a